there's changing numbers. I think what we're looking for beyond just total figures in a given day is we're looking at percentages in a given day, probably rates then. And I know that we had been having in August rates of greater than 30% in some given days. That has decreased for sure. During the first days of September, we had rates of less than 10%. Of course, there's been 2 days over the last week where we have gone back to almost 20% rates. So it's still doing what we would call a yo-yo effect in terms of total numbers. When you plot it, because that's what you need to do, it has plateaued. It's certainly not going as a spike way up in the sky. But the only way you're going to have that curve beyond just flattening and start to take a downward trend is if you have decreasing rates as you move along. And as I said, we are not necessarily seeing decreasing rates when you have 1 or 2 days in the week that spike up. But overall, when you compare it week by week, then there is a trend that has decreased when you compare it to 4 or 5 weeks ago.